Alright, I'm getting ready to boil this Carcano Cavalry carbine barreled action. Sorry, so I wanted to get some before and after footage. This is from Royal Tiger. Supposed to be very good condition, but it was all rusty. It was missing some parts. They did mail me the parts like right away. They answered my email within 24 hours, got all the parts to me. But this thing had a lot of issues. But I liked that it was a Beretta, so I kept it instead of sending it back. And it's starting to grow on me. I refinished the stock and it's looking nice. The stock had a bunch of shellac all over it, which I had never seen before on one of these surplus Carcano carbines. It was like a blonde stock that had just been sprayed to hell with shellac. So I stripped all the shellac with acetone, scrubbed the stock down, and then put Danish oil on it and then some Renaissance wax, and it's looking pretty nice now. So this is the before shot on the barreled action, and I've got a boiling tank I bought from eBay sitting on top of my stove right now. I'm hoping putting it across 2 burners will get it to boil. If not, I'm gonna have to take it outside and put some propane burners under it, but I'm hoping I can just use my electric stove, save me from having to use up a bunch of propane. So there it is before. Gonna boil it. Well, first I'm gonna degrease it with brake cleaner, then boil it, then card it, and then oil it down real good. So next time you see it, hopefully it'll be nicer. Alright, here's my setup with my bluing tank on top of the stove. I just got this stainless bluing tank off eBay. This is my first time trying it. I just put a piece of wood over it to try to hold the heat in. And I'm attempting to bring all this water to a boil with just these 2 electric stovetop. And I'm not sure if it's going to get it or not. If not, I'll have to take it outside, and I've got some propane burners to put under it that'll work. But I'm hoping I can just use my electric stove here. We'll see. Well, it took a while to get it boiling, but there it goes. I just put that in, so it kind of took a temperature dive for a little bit, but it's boiling decent. Good enough. I'm going to put it in there for probably about 40 minutes. And then take it out, let it dry, and then card it off. Alright, here's the stock I refinished. I cannot believe I didn't get one picture of how this looked beforehand. I feel kind of stupid for that. But trust me, it looks way better. It was shellacked, it was completely blonde. It's way darker now than it was, but it was just totally pale blonde and just sprayed all over with shellac, and it had areas where it was all thick and runny, and it was all down inside the channel here. So I used citrus strip and stripped it, and then I used acetone to get what that didn't get. Then I dried it out really good, and then I used Danish oil, dark walnut, and it got it darker. You know, it's not real dark, but used that Danish oil, about 3 applications of it, because it's pretty thin. It doesn't soak in as well as like boiled linseed oil does. So I had to do it 2 or 3 times. And then I put Renaissance wax on it. And it looks way better, trust me. But I wish I knew the story behind this stock being all shellacked like that. I mean, I think it just came from the Italian police surplus like all the other ones did. But somebody decided to shellac that one for some reason. But there it is. It looks way better. Alright, here's what we got out of the boiling tank. It's hot as hell, so I brought it in here on that piece of wood. I'm going to let it cool off to where I can touch it before I card it. But you can see all that rust is converted to a softer form that I can card off real easy, and I'm hoping most of that bluing looks pretty decent under there. I mean, you can see there's good bluing there. There's deep pits in some areas, and that's not gonna look nice, of course, but I think this is really gonna help. I'm hoping I don't need to do another boil. I may have to, just depends. I did 40 minutes, and from what I have heard from people smarter than me, going any longer than 40 minutes doesn't get you anywhere. So you might as well take it out, card it, and then if you need to, put it back in. But that's how it's looking, and I'm gonna let it cool and get to carding, and I'll get you some footage when it's done. Here are some parts that I already have boiled and carded and oiled. Now these were all just as rusty as that barrel action was. You can see some areas where it was pitted that didn't get saved, but most of that bluing looks pretty nice. These parts were all rusty, and they carded up real nice. The bolt wasn't really rusty. There was some on the handle, but I mean, you can see there to that, there to that. So it really does a good job. Alright, I'm going to give a little progress update here. I'm not done carding, but I've done the majority of it. This is really hard to get since I can't get it off of here. I think you can remove this front sight block and bayonet lug, but not very easily, and I don't want to destroy that little screw, and looks like it's probably press fit on there very hard, but anyway, that doesn't come off, so I'm gonna have to get up inside that with steel wool and maybe a little small Dremel tip. But the bluing looks pretty nice under here. There's areas of nasty pitting, of course, but man, it cleaned up pretty nicely. Some pretty bad pitting there, and it's hard to get down inside there, so I'm gonna have to use the brush and all that. I've got the little Brownells carding brush, some degreased steel wool, and then I'm gonna have to run a degreased bore brush up inside there and then decide if I want to try boiling it again. I think it's gonna be good with just one pass. Pretty happy with it so far. I didn't film any of the carding because I'm using this drill and a vise, and it's so loud it shakes the whole damn room. I did buy a polisher motor that I can mount a wheel to, so that's gonna make it much easier. I put a longer shaft on it, so I'll be able to get, you know, the angles much easier. Kind of stuck up in the corner the way I have it now, and I really can't film it very good, but I'm sure you understand what I'm doing. It's just a soft wheel, basically motorized steel wool. So that's what I got so far. Alright, here's some footage of me doing all the little stuff. This stuff is a pain. I wish Brownells made a smaller carding brush, but for stuff like this you just gotta get up in there the best you can. And I also have a little small Dremel wheel that's pretty soft metal. You don't want to use anything that's really stiff or you're going to tear the bluing off. And I'm going to have to get down inside there. Fun stuff. Alright, carding is done. Pretty happy with it. I think I got all up in every little crevice pretty good. And now what you want to do is oil it down really good. And you don't want to use a gun oil that has anti-rust detergents in it. You want to use something that is just plain oil or grease that doesn't have any detergents in it, because you got bare fresh bluing here basically, and you don't want to put anything that has rust preventative on it just yet. Just plain old oil. And I've used this rig grease in the past, and it's worked really well on rust blue jobs. So basically I'm just using a paintbrush here, and I'm going to slather the whole thing down and leave it for about 24 hours probably, and it'll help that bluing really stay black for you. I've heard that used motor oil works really well because all the detergents are used up basically, but I don't have any on hand. I'll try that one of these days, but I'm just going to slather this on and just let it sit. So I ran a 30 cal bore brush up through there after I greased the outside, because a 6.5 bore brush doesn't even spin when you're putting it up through there on a Tipton cleaning rod that spins really easy. So I think the bore is pretty worn out, but there is decent rifling in there, but I just couldn't get it good enough with a 6.5, so I got a 30 cal. Sorry, that's my cat. And that was really tight getting up through there, but it did spin. And then I started putting rig grease patches up through there, and that is what's coming out. So I'm hoping the bore looks way nicer once I get this whole thing done. But I just wanted to show you just how nasty that is coming out. And I did clean that bore before I boiled and carded all this, so I guess I didn't clean it very good. Alright, I got this all greased down. Wanted to show you how nice the bluing looks. Well, compared to how it did anyway. It's nice and black. It's gonna sit for a while, maybe a day, and I'm gonna reassemble it. I'm gonna make a separate video for the finished product, but it's looking good so far. Pretty happy with it. Thanks for watching. I'll have another video soon with it all put back together.